My hands trembled as I stared at my phone. 3 missed calls from Gerald, my lawyer. Then a message chilled me. Tom, call me now. Don't go to your daughter's house. I knew the shocking truth. I was standing in the front hall, half of my coat, car keys in my hand. I was supposed to drive to my daughter Lindsay's house in Springbank for Sunday dinner. She's been insisting all week. Dad, I'll never come here again. The kids miss you. I'm making your favorite pot roast. There's no excuse this time, okay? How do you say no to that? Your only daughter? Talk about your grandchildren, your favorite meals, family time to eat, have fun. And for 67 years, they've been working with me all the time. But Gerald's text interrupts that. The key slipped out of my hand and hit the floor with a dull, rattling sound. I sat back in the leather sofa that Margaret and I had chosen 32 years ago, when we first moved into this house in Mount Royal. If she's still alive, she'll know what to do. Margaret always knew what to do, but she's been gone for 4 years, and I'm alone with a phone, a warning, and a feeling in my chest, like someone has just opened the hatch at my feet. I pressed Gerald with my fingers, and suddenly felt 10 years older. Tom. His voice was mutilated, but there was something underneath it that I had never heard from him before. A tight, urgent concern. Where are you now? Are you alone? I'm at home. I was about to go to Lindsay's house. What's going on? You're scaring me. Good. Be scared for a minute. Don't go anywhere. Lock your door. I'm coming. We need to talk face to face. You need to see some of the documents I received this morning. He hung up before I could protest. I stood there in the quiet house, the late afternoon light filtering through the front window, washing everything away in a soft orange glow. Photos of Lindsay's hallway growing up, framed photos of Margaret wearing a gardening hat, the polished wood of the stairs. We've built a life here. And apparently, my family has decided that life is going to be for sale. I locked the front door. 20 minutes later, Gerald was sitting across from me at the dinner table. It's also the table where we hosted Christmas dinners, birthday parties, and family-long breakfasts when Lindsay was a teenager. Now it's covered with papers. Not a card. Not the menu. Legal documents. Gerald took off his glasses, carefully placed them next to the file, and looked me straight in the eye. Tom, 3 days ago, daughter Lindsay and her husband Derek filed an application at King's Bench Court. He paused, as if he needed to give the word space to land. They're filing for a declaration of mental incompetence. They want to be your legal guardian and control all of your assets. Those words hit me so hard that I really felt dizzy. I gripped the edge of the table until my knuckles were white. It's crazy, I stammered. I'm 67 years old, not 97. I volunteer at the food bank. I manage my own investments. I just renewed my driver's license last month, passing everything. Why did they do that? Gerald slid another stack of papers toward me. Because of this. He typed on the first page. Your home is now worth about $2.4 million. Your portfolio is about $1.8 million. Add up your pension and savings, and we only have a total of just over $5 million. Intellectually, I know I'm comfortable. Margaret and I spent 35 years saving, investing, saying no to everything, so we could retire without being a burden to Lindsay. I have spent my life as a petroleum engineer. She taught English in high school. We never live luxuriously. We just plan. But hearing the numbers presented like that, in the calm voice of a lawyer, makes people feel differently. Less like our nest egg, and more like a jackpot that someone else has decided they are owed. Lindsay knows roughly how much the house is worth, I said slowly. We talked about Calgary real estate last Christmas. She joked that I was sitting on a gold mine. Gerald gave a small smile that wasn't funny. It's not really a joke. He opened his laptop and turned the screen towards me. There are accounts and spreadsheets that I've never seen before. Your daughter and Derek are in serious financial trouble. They bought the 5,000 square foot home in Springbank Hills 3 years ago, a mortgage of $650,000. Derek then convinces her to put $400,000 into one of his business partner's cryptocurrency projects. It dropped. They lost everything. His nephew Josh's private school is $38,000 a year. The estate tax on their residence was $22,000. Their debt-to-income ratio is ugly. I stared at the screen. How do you know this? Because they've attached a portion of their finances to the petition. They're trying to argue that they're responsible, stable people who can protect your assets better than you can. My property, my life's work. The house where Margaret died, holding my hand in our bedroom upstairs. The investment accounts that she and I have built brick by brick, and my daughter turned them into evidence in a lawsuit against me. Gerald pulled out another file. They've been building a case for at least 6 months. Look at this. There are photos of me at Safeway, staring at the cereal box. A note from their family doctor, Dr. Patel, described me as a little disoriented during the exam. A recording of a phone call in which I allegedly forgot my own number. I'm trying to find the cereal that Margaret used to buy, I said, paralyzed. They stopped carrying it, and I had the flu when I saw Dr. Patel. Fever 102, I remember that. As for the phone number, I just changed the provider. I've had the old number for 15 years. Of course I failed. I know, Gerald said quietly. You know, but when you pull those moments out of context and put them in black and white, it tells a story. Senior confusion, cognitive decline. Combine that with $5 million on the line, it seems appealing to a judge who doesn't know you. My eyes drifted to the wedding photo framed on the wall. Margaret smiled, her hair pulled up, clutching my arm as if I were the safest place on earth. I never thought I'd need protection from my own child, I whispered. What happens if they win? My voice sounded small, even to me. Gerald didn't slander it. If the judge grants custody and trust, Lindsay and Derek will become your legal guardians. They control your bank accounts, investments, and this home. They can sell assets, move you into assisted living, and make all of your medical decisions. You will lose your autonomy almost completely. And with their financial situation, I hope this house will be on the market within 3 months. Incoming photos are not required. Strangers pass by my living room with a realtor, commenting on the charm of the place. Margaret's favorite chair disappears in a moving truck. The garden was torn down and replaced with sterile landscaping. They can't do this, I said, but it was given as a plea rather than a statement. Lindsay wouldn't do this. She's my daughter. Gerald's eyes were kind, but his words weren't. I wish I could tell you that you were wrong, Tom, but the proof is right here. This is not a moment of panic. This was planned. They wait for your little car accident last year, then use it as a hook. Daddy is not safe to drive anymore. They recorded every missed appointment, every moment you looked at and called it a mistake. They've written a story where you're the problem, and awards. I remember that accident vividly. A teenager blew a red light and gave me a T-bone. The police report said I was not at fault. After that, Lindsay insisted on coming to all my appointments. She said she was nervous. She said she wanted to make sure that nothing serious was wrong. It was only now that I realized that she had also turned off her phone more than usual. "What should I do?" I said. "I don't know how to fight my own child." Gerald's face changed from sympathy to surgery. "We fight smart. And now we accept one thing. There's no way to get over this without blowing up your relationship with Lindsay. There is no gentle version. She moved this. Are you prepared for that?" I thought of Lindsay at the age of 6, curled up in my lap as I read Charlotte's Web, and she cried when Charlotte died. At 16, screaming that I was ruining her life because I wasn't going to let her go out for the weekend with a 23-year-old boyfriend. At 28, holding my arm tightly at the church door before I led her down the aisle. Then I thought of her voice, calm and considerate, and signed her name on a petition to declare me incompetent. "Tell me what we need to do," I said. Inside, something quietly clicks into place. The retired engineer wanted a peaceful sunset to sit down, and the man who had dealt with multi-million-dollar infrastructure problems under pressure stood up. Since that day, my life has been split in half. There is one part that everyone can see, the elderly widow who lives alone in her beautiful neighborhood, grateful for any attention his daughter gives him. And then there's the part that only Gerald and I know. A man who builds a legal defense the way I used to build a pipeline. Carefully, precisely, without errors. I bought a black moleskin notebook and turned it into my diary. Monday, wake up at 6:30, complete the New York Times crossword in 18 minutes, no errors. Log into my investment account. Transfer $10,000 from the bond fund to the index fund. The argument is recorded. Reconciled inventory, organized shipments. The supervisor thanked me for discovering the error in the delivery manifest. Cooked lemon chicken, rice, salad. Call my former colleague Ron, talking about his nephew's hockey season. Tuesday, dentist appointment at 9 p.m. Self-drive, arrived 10 minutes early. Paid bills, cleaning according to future schedules. Grocery shopping, written list used, stuck with a budget. Read 3 chapters of a history book about Alberta's early oil sands development. Notes. Boring? Totally. But it did do one important thing. It showed anyone who cared about appearances that my brain was still working well. On Wednesday, I met with Dr. Sarah Chen, the geriatric psychiatrist that Gerald had recommended. She has warm eyes and a voice like someone who has spent her life learning to listen. She put me through a series of tests. Draw a clock that shows 10 o'clock through 11. Remember these 5 words and repeat them later. Solve this pattern. Explain this proverb. Tell me about what you did yesterday. After 3 sessions, she joined hands. "Mr. Morrison, I am pleased to tell you that there is no evidence of dementia or cognitive impairment. Your memory, reasoning, and problem-solving abilities are all above average for your age. I'll put that in a formal report." "Above average?" I said, trying to put on a weak smile. "My daughter will be very happy to hear that, if she cares." Dr. Chen watched me for a while. "Sometimes," she says softly. "Families push for a diagnosis not because they're worried about the patient, but because they are worried about themselves. Whatever this is, it has nothing to do with your brain." Meanwhile, Lindsay continued her performance as the caring daughter. "Dad, I'm so sorry about Sunday," she said over the phone. "Derek's mother fell, completely chaotic. Can we have dinner this weekend instead?" "Of course," I said, squeezing a warm voice. "Is she okay?" She's fine. You know how dramatic she gets." There was a small laugh. Then her tone changed to a careful, "I'm going to ask you something" tone that I had heard her use for Derek. "Actually, Dad, while I have you, Derek and I were thinking about estate planning. You know, setting up a trust, arranging everything just in case. We're not getting any younger. It's there. Word. Believe." "Sounds like a good idea," I said steadily. "Let me think about it." "Don't think too long," she said, a little too quickly. "These things are time-sensitive. You never know what might happen." I hung up the phone and wrote it down in my diary word by word. Is it a threat? My mind wants to say no. My heart wasn't so sure. A few days later, my nephew called and gave me an answer. It was a Thursday afternoon. I was making tea when the phone rang. "Hey, Grandpa," Josh said. His voice sounded tense. "Can I come, right now?" "Of course. Is everything okay?" "I don't know. I need to talk to you alone." "Please." He arrives on his bike, cheeks flushed from pedaling, shoulders hunched over as if he's carrying something heavy that has nothing to do with his backpack. I let him in. His eyes were red, and he kept looking back at the door even after I closed it. "Josh, what's going on?" He swallowed, pulled out his phone, and held it as if it might burn him. "You have to promise that you won't tell me that you showed me this. I don't promise anything until I know what this is." He nodded, his fingers trembling slightly, and pressed play. My daughter's voice rang out in my kitchen. "The hearing is going to be in 2 weeks, Derek. I told you Gerald could be his lawyer, but we have Dr. Patel's testimony. We've got the photos. We recorded everything." Derek's voice was simple. "What if your dad fights it?" Lindsay laughs, a carefree, almost amusing sound. "With what? We've got the system. Every time he forgets something, every time he looks confused, every appointment he mixes up, it's all in there. The judge will see a pattern of cognitive decline. And even if he tries to fight, it will cost him hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees. By the time it's finished, there won't be a lot of real estate left anyway." She says real estate the way some people say win the lottery. "And when we win," she continued, "the house will be put on the market immediately. Even with a market like this, we will write off $1.8 million after the mortgage. That patches the crypto hole and brings us back to zero. We then liquidated his portfolio, paid off our mortgage, and set up Josh's trust." Derek again. "What about your father? Where did he go?" There is a silence. When she spoke, her voice was colder than I had ever heard. "There is an assisted living place in Airdrie, much cheaper than Mount Royal. He'll be fine. He won't even know the difference soon enough." The recording process stops. Silence filled the kitchen. Josh stared at the floor, his shoulders shaking. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I came home early after hockey and they didn't hear me. I know it's wrong to record them, but I can't walk away. They're talking as if you're already gone. Like you. Something to move around on a spreadsheet." I walked around the table and pulled him into a hug. "You did the right thing," I said, my voice thick. "You did the brave thing." We stood there like that for a long time. A 15-year-old boy has just betrayed his parents to save his grandfather. A 67-year-old man has just been confirmed by his nephew's phone to have his worst fears. That night, when the house was quiet again, I played the record for Gerald. He listens without interruption, his face getting harder with each sentence. When it's over, he exhales a slow breath. "Tom," he said, This just changes everything. How? I asked. Until now, we were just defensive. Say, no, he's fine, don't take his right. But this, he typed into his phone, is proof of intent. Here's your daughter and her husband discussing how to take away your property while you're still alive and put you in cheap care. This is elder abuse. We won't just block their petitions. We will respond. I looked at my phone as if it was some kind of bomb. I don't want to destroy her, I said quietly. I just want to be alone. You didn't start this war, Tom, Gerald said. But if you don't get it done, they will. And they'll end it up with you in a facility you don't want, in a town you don't choose, no control over your own life. Is that what Margaret wants? That has been done. Margaret hated bullies. She once went to school and scolded a principal for ignoring a child who was chosen in Lindsay's class. If she were here, she would be standing next to me in that courtroom. Do what you have to do, I said. Let's end it. Courtrooms are strange places. Everything is quiet, but underneath, people's lives are cracking. I sat at the defendant's table with Gerald. Across the aisle are my daughter and her husband. Lindsay twisted a tissue in her hand, but her jaw was erect. Derek looked annoyed, as if this whole thing was just an inconvenient business complex. Behind me, in the gallery, Josh sat with his shoulders square, refusing to look at his parents. The judge, Judge Maria Rodriguez, walked in. Black robes, steel gray hair, eyes as if she had seen all the human mess and was no longer impressed by any of it. The secretary reads the problem. Guardianship, trust, my name, their name. Lindsay's lawyer went first. Every word is polished. Each phrase is designed to make Lindsay look like a saint, and I look like a tragic case. Sir, this is a painful but sadly common situation. Mr. Morrison was a 67-year-old widow who had begun to show obvious signs of cognitive decline, confusion in public spaces, disorientation at medical appointments, minor car accidents. His loving daughter, Mrs. Morrison Fletcher, is simply trying to protect her father and ensure that his substantial assets are managed responsibly before he makes decisions that could harm him. He gives photographs, doctor's notes, records of phone numbers. It all sounds very logical to be stripped of context. Then, it was Gerald's turn. He walked to the middle of the room like a man who knew exactly how much explosives he was about to launch. Sir, with respect, what you have just heard is a story, told in a unique way. Edit carefully. But it's still a story. I want to introduce some facts. He started with Dr. Chen's report. He read the conclusion aloud. There is no evidence of dementia or cognitive impairment. Cognitive performance is above average for the age group. The judge reads the report line by line. I looked at her eyes, slightly narrowed. The petitioners conveniently ignored the mention of this, Gerald continued. Maybe it's because it doesn't support their chosen story. He then takes each incident and brings it back to its actual context. Staring at the cereal box? Look for a brand that my wife used to buy. Disorientation in doctors? High fever, severe flu? Forgot your phone number? New supplier after 15 years. He put my journal on the table, thick with ink and dates. For the past 2 weeks, Mr. Morrison has been documenting his daily activities. You'll see sections on volunteering, financial decisions, home maintenance, social calls. This is not a confused man. This is a man whose normal aging has been weaponized against him. I watched the judge flip through the pages covered in my handwriting. Crossword time, meals, calls, small notes like fixed staircase and rebalancing portfolio. Gerald then went to the center of the target. But sir, this is not just a question of whether Mr. Morrison is competent. That's the question of why this petition was filed in the first place. He played the recording. Hearing my daughter's voice echoing in that courtroom was worse than hearing it in my kitchen. Things sound colder there. Clean. More damned. The neatly stacked story of the loving daughter seeking to protect her declining father burst into flames in real time, replaced by phrases such as, wipe out 1.8 million, fix the crypto disaster, liquidate the portfolio. He won't even know the difference soon enough. When the sound ends, no one moves. Lindsay's lawyer stood up. Sir, that recording was made without my client's knowledge or consent. It constitutes an invasion of privacy and... Judge Rodriguez raised his hand. Attorney, this is not a criminal trial on the possibility of accepting confidential recordings. This is a civil proceeding involving guardianship. I am fully interested in understanding the motivation behind this petition. The recording remains. Then she turned to Lindsay. Ms. Morrison-Fletcher, would you like to explain why you discussed the sale of your father's home and the liquidation of his property while he was still alive? And according to this psychiatric report, mentally healthy? Lindsay's face is the color of paper. Sir, that conversation was taken out of context, she said. We're talking about a hypothetical real estate plan. We never meant to... The judge's eyebrows were raised. Hypothetical estate planning involves putting your father in an assisted living facility in Airdrie because it's much cheaper than Mount Royal, and then using the sale of his home to plug a hole in your personal finances? Lindsay opened her mouth, then shut her mouth. Derek looked away. Judge Rodriguez deliberately stacked the files together, aligned the edges, and spoke. In my 18 years on this bench, I've witnessed more and more cases of adult children trying to weaponize guardianship laws to gain control of their parents' assets. This is one of the more blatant examples I've ever seen. Her pen scratched through the order. Guardianship and trust applications were rejected with prejudice. It cannot be returned. I felt my whole body sag with relief. Moreover, I am issuing a ban. Ms. Morrison-Fletcher and Mr. Fletcher are prohibited from contacting Mr. Morrison or coming within 100 meters of his residence for a period of 2 years, unless through legal counsel. Lindsay made a small, muffled sound. All legal costs incurred by Mr. Morrison in defending against this petition will be paid by the petitioners. Finally, I referred the matter to the Royal Alberta Prosecution Service for review of potential criminal charges, fraud, and attempted financial exploitation of a vulnerable person. Then she looked directly at me. Her voice softened slightly. Mr. Morrison, I'm deeply sorry that you have had to endure this. No parent has to face this betrayal from their own children. I highly recommend updating your estate plan to protect yourself from any future endeavors like this. She stood up. The hammer fell. It's over. Near. As everyone started moving, Lindsay got away from her lawyer and ran toward me before the sheriff could stop her. Dad, please, she cried. You have to understand. We were desperate. Derek has made some bad investments. We are drowning in debt. I panicked. I never intended to let it go this far. I looked at her. Really look. I saw every version of her. Toddler, teenager, bride, mom. And then the woman who sat at the kitchen table and calmly discussed selling the house and locking me up. I understand, I said quietly. Hope flashed in her eyes in an instant. I understand that you are willing to lie in court to take away my life's work. I understand that he sees me more like an estate than a father. I understand that you chose money instead of me. I understand exactly who you've become." Her face was wrinkled. "Dad, I'm my daughter." I shook my head. "My daughter loves me more than I love my fairness," I said. "I don't know who you are." The sheriff walked in between us. "The ban has taken effect." Behind me, Josh's hand was on my shoulder, firm and firm. "Grandpa," he said quietly, "can we go home now?" "Yes," I said. "Let's go home." That night, the house felt different. The hallway is still lined with photographs. The house still smells of old wood and Margaret's vanilla candles. The piano has remained in its original position, slightly out of rhythm since her death. But something has changed. For months, the house was like a besieged fortress. Now, for the first time in a long time, it feels like mine again. Not a pending asset. Not the goal. Gerald called me later. "Tom, I just wanted to check. How do you hold on?" "I don't know," I replied honestly. "I feel like I lost a daughter and got my life back in the same step." "That's exactly what happened," he said. "Listen, we should update your will while everything is new. Lock this tightly." My eyes wandered to where Josh was sitting on the couch, half socks off, working with a pencil between his teeth. "Yes," I said. "Let's do it." The next day, I sat in Gerald's office again, watching him open a new file. "This house," I said, "investments, everything. I want them to trust Josh. Education first. Then, as he got older, a start in life. Up front, can be capital for a business if he wants to." Lindsay didn't get anything. "Nothing?" he asked softly. "It's permanent, Tom." "She made the choice," I said. "I'm just documenting it." He nodded and wrote it down. "And Gerald," I added, "I want a clause that explains exactly why. If she tries to oppose it, I want a judge to see in black and white what she tried to do to me." He smiled faintly. "You're really an engineer. Everything is recorded. The warning label is clear." Josh moved in a week later. His parents threw him out when they realized he had recorded them. "Traitor," they called him. "Thankless. Brainwashed by that old man." He arrived at my door with 2 duffel bags and a backpack, his shoulders drooping. "Your room is at the end of the hall," I said. "It used to be your mother's. We'll repaint it the way you want." He looked at me, his eyes wet. "Thank you, Grandpa. I don't know where else to go." "You're home," I said. "That's where you are." We find our rhythm slowly. I cook breakfast. He complained about the bus. I drive him on really cold days. He went home, dropped the bag by the door, grumbled about his homework, ate whatever I did, and pretended not to like it as much as he did. On Saturday, we dig in the garden. The roses that Margaret had planted were mostly dead. My attempts to revive them have failed. So Josh and I made a new plan. "Let's make vegetables," he said. "She always said that you never grow anything you can actually eat." I laughed for the first time in months. "We grow tomatoes, peppers, lettuce, herbs. We choose a small stone for the corner and put a board for it." When it arrived, we installed it together. It has Margaret's name, her date, and the quote that Josh chose. "Family is not always blood. It's the people who stand on your side when others leave." He looked at me nervously as we stepped back to look at it. "You think you'll like it?" My throat tightened. "I think," I said, "your grandmother will like it, and she'll be very, very proud of you." A few months later, Gerald called back. "Tom, quick update. Crown continues with the allegations. Lindsay and Derek pleaded guilty to attempted fraud and attempted financial exploitation. Suspended sentence, 2 years of probation, compensation. Now it's on their record. So, it's really over, I said. Legally, I mean. Legally, yes. In fact, your assets are protected. Your custody is secure. They can't touch anything. After hanging up, I went out to the garden. Josh was there, watering the tomatoes, the headphones on. I watched him for a minute before he recognized me. "What?" he said, pulling out a bud. "Nothing," I replied. "Just proud of you." He rolled his eyes, but he smiled. I'm 67 years old, and I've learned more in the second half of this year than the first 67 years combined. I've learned that trust isn't an innate right. It's something that people earn every day, with every choice. I've learned that the phrase, "I'm just trying to help," can be the opening line of a scam. I've learned that you can fall in love with someone and still have to close the door to them to stay safe. On top of that, I've learned that it's not ungrateful or selfish or paranoid to protect yourself, even with your children. If you're listening to this and there's something in your gut that's twisting, I'd like to talk to you for a moment. If your adult child constantly tells you that you're confused, forgetful, or not as sharp as it used to be, and that conversation always seems to happen when a will, home, or bank account comes up, pay attention. If they keep pushing paperwork in front of you, just sign here. That's the norm. People are doing this now. Don't you believe me? Slow down. If they roll their eyes when you ask questions, if they tell you that you're difficult, if they insist that they know what's best for you even if you don't feel right, seek help. You're not crazy. You're not a dramatic person. You are not a burden because you want to control your own life. People who truly love you will answer your questions. They'll respect your no. They won't rush you into something that gives them power and takes it away from you. And if you're the adult kid in this situation, listen and think, "Oh, my parents are going to leave it to me. Why not arrange it now?" I also have something for you. Your parents' money isn't yours until it's yours. Their home is not your future down payment. Their savings are not your backup plan. It's their life in numbers. They earned it. They have the power to decide what happens to it, even if you don't like their choice. My daughter thinks my property is already hers. She bets her father, son, reputation, and integrity on that belief. In the end, she lost all four. What about me? I still have my home. I have a grandson who risked everything to do the right thing. I have a garden where new life is growing, where old things are dead. I have peace. The home in Mount Royal is a property worth more than $2.4 million on a single sheet of paper. It's home. It's where Margaret's memory lives in every room, where Josh is learning integrity, where justice quietly, finally, has come to me. I'm Tom Morrison. I am 67 years old, and I survived my own family's attempt to wipe me out before I died. If my story resonates with you, let me know in the comments. Have you ever seen money tear apart a family or reveal who a person really is? You don't have to share details if you don't want to. Just let me know I'm not the only one. And if you want to hear more authentic stories like this, stories of betrayal, silent revenge, and justice without screaming, go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next one. On your screen right now, you'll see 2 more stories that I've selected just for you. Click one, stay a little longer, and remember, sometimes the bravest thing an older person can do, simply say, "No, I didn't sign that." Thanks for listening.